Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the second episode of the Net Slicer podcast. I'm your host, as always, here, Holden. And today we have a packed episode, and we are going to kick off the ATP Asian Swing after a brief hiatus after the US Open. We're going to look for a strong start and being patient and waiting for opportunities. So we're going to do a quick breakdown of the US Open final before we get into everything, before shifting into some of the biggest hot topics on tour right now. And then we're going to always try to do a rising star on tour, so I have somebody laid out for that you're not going to want to miss. From there, we're going to do a brief message from Net Slicer, and then where you can find our in-depth breakdowns, betting insights, and tournament previews. So our podcast is just one of our many facets on our website that helps you become a better sports bettor, specifically engineered towards tennis sports betting. So after that, we're going to turn our attention to this week's action. We're going to start with the ATP 250 event in Hangzhou, and then we're going to switch over to Chengdu, but we're going to go through an overview of the event. We're going to do quarter by quarter breakdowns, and then I'm going to share my thoughts of outright winners, as well as key players to watch, as well as players to fade. Once we finish all of that, I'm going to wrap up the episode and then give out any insights or bets that I think that are good, and then I will let you guys know when our next episode is going to be. Probably is going to be something for the next round of the Seoul tournament going on the WTA side, and then we'll switch back to here. So just trying to stay on top of everything and looking forward to breaking down these tournaments with you guys. So we wanted to talk about the event from the week prior. Obviously, there was no events from the week prior. So I'm just going to go back to the final in the US Open against Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. So I'm going to pull this up on the screen right here, and essentially it's going to show that on September 3rd, we actually gave out Carlos Alcaraz before his match with Novak at plus 155 to win the event. We did think, and you will see here, that he was a little undervalued, as we did see him going in and beat Novak. And then with the level that he was playing at in that tournament, not dropping a set, the buzz cut, it was just everything was lining up for him to at least get us at odds that we could hedge at some point in the tournament, in that match especially. So fortunately, like, our plan was we were going to wait until Alcaraz was up and hopefully took the first set, and he ended up doing that. So that gave us a perfect opportunity to hedge if we were to have wanted to do that, which we did for a small amount. And that helped us guarantee at least to get our money back if our Carlos Alcaraz outright bet were to lose. And if not, we would still, if Alcaraz won, guarantee profit. So it was a great situation, and a very fortunate draw, I would say, final in the semis there with getting Novak. So, and then on the other hand, you had Sinner against Felix, who had just been playing out of his mind and ended up actually taking a set off him. So you had these two stories. This one story of Sinner, who sort of had the easier draw and didn't look as good going out throughout the tournament. And then he had Felix, which is definitely a hard match. And he definitely raised his level when he needed to. And then kind of made it look easy after that second set, which he lost to Felix. On the other hand, we had Alcaraz, who took out Alpelka. He took out Bellucci. And Bellucci actually did super well at the tournament last year, so he was trying to do well and coming with decent form as well. He beat Luciano Darderti, and he also beat Arthur Rinderknech. So at the end of the day, I was just more impressed with Alcaraz's draw on top of his performances in those events as well. I do think that it's one of those matchups that the bookmakers just get wrong every single time. It seems like this would be 10 out of 15 times, I believe, that the bookmakers have incorrectly priced this match, with the underdog actually coming out and winning. So it's really cool to see us end the final Grand Slam season strong with that pick. Now getting into the hot topics on tour, there was one that stood out to me just during this quick break that we've had on tour is Carlos Alcaraz's haircut. Now, this is a specific type of haircut that I think is very, 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 very interesting, as we've already seen the buzz cut come, which I thought was great, and he just doesn't care what people think of him, and that's, I think, part of the reason why he won the tournament. He just goes out there and plays his best, and he knows people are going to like him any way that he looks. He's now doing this blonde look, which is so, how do I describe this? It's almost like anytime anybody reaches their maximum level of confidence, they're going to shave their head and they're going to dye it blonde, in my eyes, as a dude, right? Like, if I had that type of confidence, which I don't, I'd probably do it, just because. So I do think that, yeah, I mean, this is quite an interesting look. Carlos Alcaraz came out after the tournament and said, hey, listen, like, I want to complete the Grand Slam conquest of winning all 4 of them. And I think that he's just dialed in. He's down on a different level, and, like, we've seen him now beat Sinner in straight sets. Excuse me, not in straight sets, but just in straight tournaments. That in Cincinnati with Sinner being ill, but on hard courts, like, you would think Sinner's that guy, and he's really not. He is up until he plays Alcaraz. So I'm very curious to see how their next matchup's going to be. We're going to be seeing a lot of it. But just something on tour right now, and let's see if he can actually pull this off next year, and if he continues hard court swing and his success over Sinner, then he can win Australia. You would think that he's the better clay player, so you would think he wins on clay, and grass is a court that I would think that would honestly favor Alcaraz as well. So despite his loss, so it just comes and goes in these matches and stuff. But I think Alcaraz does have the edge mentally, and he's just like an overall, I believe, better player in my eyes right now. Sinner, at the end of the day, is a great, fantastic player. There just comes a point when you lose to somebody. I think he's 2-7 on hard court matches with Alcaraz. There comes a point where you become really worried that this might be the theme in their career over the long run. Is just that Sinner doesn't have an answer, and he seemed like he didn't really have an answer during that match for Alcaraz's power. So yes, Alcaraz, bald and blonde. Can he win all 4 Grand Slams next year? We shall see. All right, so you guys are probably wondering, who is this rising star that Holden's going to be talking about today? Well, this is, first of all, probably my favorite thing to talk about, and it's going to be on every single podcast. I love seeing these young talent and seeing the players that they potentially could be, just based on what I see and the stats that I see as well here. This week, drumroll please, is Rei Sakamoto of Japan. This guy, I mean, he's 19 years old and born in 2006. I'm 25, and just to think that there's guys this good out there who are 19 years old just boggles my mind. In our previous episode, we talked about Sarah Rakamoto Tian Soto, who just won Sao Paulo at the 250 event. And she was a 3-1 dog, and she was our rising star in our previous episode, and she ended up winning. This is super important because you want to look at these players before others notice that they're big, and that's how you ultimately make some money. And it's why I think just saying that your niche is ATP or saying that your niche is WTA, it really does limit you. Obviously, you want to find your niche, and our niche is tennis, but you also don't want to ignore these players coming up, because you're going to miss the opportunities along the way. Ray hasn't been in the best form as of the past few weeks, but I want to take it back a few months back into the later days of June when he was in a challenger tournament in Cary, which I believe is North Carolina. Don't quote me on that. I'm just going to go through the level of competition that he won in that tournament. Excuse me. So he had Nicolas Mejia in the first round, which was a kind of a shaky first set, and then he came up and ended up winning in 3 after losing that first set to Mejia. Another shaky start in the next match against Patrick Maloney, where he lost 3-6 and then ended up winning 6-1, 6-2. The next match was Tristan Skulkate, who obviously we all know Skulkate has been having a great season, and he was the number 1 seed, I believe, in that tournament. So after being the number 1 seed in the quarterfinal, he ended up beating Patrick Gibson, and the 8th seed in the semifinals in straight tiebreak sets. 7-6, 7-6, and then it was the next match, which really just solidified my thoughts on how great of a player I think this guy really can be. So he ended up beating, after Patrick Gibson in the semifinals, he beat Liam Draxel, Liam Draxel is a great challenger player. He kind of smoked him 6-1, 6-4. So he's just one of these guys that you got to look out for and keep an eye out, because we will see them, and him specifically, I think in this next year specifically, make a break maybe at an event, or even during this Asian swing we can see him do well. He lost in the first round here, I believe it was in Chengdu, to Bashilavili, which is it's a tough matchup in the first round, and I think like for sure during this Asian swing we will see him do well at one event. So congratulations. All right, so before we dive into Seoul, let me tell you quickly about one of the most powerful net slicer tools that we have, our ATP and WTA library. This is the engine behind the platform, deep historical data, player matchups, and surface splits you won't find anywhere else. It's designed to help bettors see what the market misses. Roll the clip. Let's say this hypothetical matchup between Emma Raducanu and Ekaterina Alexandrova. With a professional membership, one of the main perks of our website is our models, where you can check to see, based on our market-proven model, who would win the matchup on each of the 3 main surfaces: hard courts, clay, and grass. Get this, on the entire WTA and ATP tours. Why is this important? Well, it helps you analyze draws and potential matchups, find undervalued and overvalued players, and build a mental library of which players perform best on certain surfaces. To check this out for yourself, use the sign up page on our main page to choose professional and unlock this feature, as well as many more features to help refine your betting strategy and profits. Okay, so the first tournament we're going to get into is the 250 event in Hangzhou. Now, this tournament is really cool because, unlike Chengdu, it comes in with different conditions, notably. So I just want to break that down. So it's the Link & Co. Hangzhou Open. It debuted in 2024, so this is the second rendition of it. So it's a complement to the Chengdu event going on, and then we have Beijing and Shanghai afterwards. So it's a state-of-the-art 8,000 square foot seat center court with a retractable roof, ensuring uninterrupted play regardless of the weather. So they have that flexibility. We will get into the weather in a bit here. So Hangzhou culturally is an economic powerhouse. It homes nearly 13 million people, famous for its breathtaking West Lake, and known for the birthplace of one of our participants in the draw, in Wu Yibing. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. He's one of China's leading tennis figures. Obviously, you have Junxing Shang, you have Xingzhen Chang, Xingzhang Zhang. I'm so sorry. Xingzhang Zhang, right? Is that how you say it? Anyways, so those three they're kind of their top performers. So this event carries both prestige and local pride, aiming to establish itself as a staple of Asia's tennis center and calendar. So unlike Chengdu, where altitude quickens play, Hangzhou is very low elevation with high humidity. So as a result, it's going to be slow, heavy conditions, reducing first strike effectiveness and rewarding grinders, crowd punchers, and patient baseliners who can handle long rallies. Now, with the hotter weather, obviously these courts will play quicker, but comparably to Chengdu and higher altitude, Chengdu is going to play a lot quicker. There's less air density at higher altitudes, so there's less air molecules slowing the ball down. Therefore, that ball travels a lot quicker over space, rather than in a tournament like Hangzhou at lower altitude where there's more dense air molecules, which will increase the drag. So it's important to note that. And if you haven't started realizing altitude plays a big factor in tennis and tennis betting, I would really try to just look into that a bit there, or check out our website, which we have an article about on our blog. So a little bit of the tournament dynamics and motivation here. So, we have some big name contenders in Andrei Rublev and Daniil Medvedev. You have Alexander Bublik and then Corentin Moutet as well. We're going to throw in Berrettini, although he's been injured for the majority of this season. We're going to throw him in there. He's actually one of the main betting favorites, which is very interesting. Motivation-wise, Medvedev and Rublev have a chance to really try to pick up some of this lower play they've been producing, especially in Medvedev. Say hello to my cat, Alan, here. So, Chinese players in Yu Weibing and Xingzhang Zhang carry massive local expectations. So, especially after we've seen Junxing Chang win last year in, I believe it was Chengdu. So there's a lot of floaters that we're going to talk about as well, like Sebastian Korda, Marin Cilic. So let's dive into that right now. I'm going to pull up the draw, either right here, probably, or right here. So let's get into quarter one. So Andrei Rublev, Alexander Kovacevic, Luca Nardi, Mariano Navone, Leonard Tien, Rublev, kind of are like the top guys in this quarter. So in my eyes, can we trust Andrei Rublev as the favorite? I don't think we can. So I want to look at some other options. And at the end of the day, he is the best player in this draw, in this quarter. But there's some big players in this quarter. So I'm very excited. So Rublev should progress, but extended rallies and damp conditions may frustrate him a bit. He does like these quicker courts, as we know. Navone and Tien represent some stylistic landmines if Rublev isn't patient. In slower conditions, which I'm not saying these are very slow, just comparably to Chengdu, you would think that Navone, it would benefit him as a clay person. And then and Leonard Tien, he does like, I think, courts that are quicker, but he's a pretty versatile young guy, so I think he can kind of heap up if he needed to. It's a tough matchup against Navone in the first round. I wouldn't bet it, and we're not planning on to do that. But we have seen that line move significantly towards Tien and then kind of regress back towards Navone, if that means anything to anybody. So quarter two here, we have Corentin Moutet, Arthur Cazot, Matteo Arnoldi, Thomas Echeverry, and then Camille Ugo Carabelli. So Though this is the quarter of attrition, we like to say. So Mutet, Arnaldi, and Echeverria all excel in construction points patiently, I would say. And Carabelli, I'm not really too impressed with on hard courts, to say the least. Um, so potentially, if you see some heavier conditions with the weather, it could benefit him as well. So just keep an eye out for that. Expect some long physical rallies in this section. Mutet's tactical variety gives him a slight edge for sure, and this is probably one of the best seasons he's had. Um, I do believe he's coming from a Davis Cup match where I think it was a tough match. So to say that he can win this tournament would be a bit of a stretch for me. I wouldn't go and place a bet on Mutet by any means. So I think Matteo Arnaldi is a good bet here. In the first round, we saw him open up about pick 'em odds. It moved to minus 140, and then it moved back to minus 115 apiece pick 'em odds. So despite the line movement back towards the original line and making this a pick 'em, and despite Arnaldi's, I think it was he's on a 4-game losing streak, and despite Cazzo not looking too bad as of late, I think Arnaldi is just a bit too good for Cazzo here. I think the stats as far as serving are very similar with each other. However, I just think Arnaldi is just looking for a win here and needs a win. I'm not saying he's going to win this quarter, but I think in that first round matchup, I would definitely lean Arnaldi. Echeverria, I'm pretty sure owns a head-to-head against Cazzo and Arnaldi, if I'm not mistaken. So I would say Echeverria is not a bad bet to win the quarter as well. So that being said, let's move on to quarter 3. We have Alexander Bublik, who's I think injured from the Davis Cup match. I think it was his quad. You have Adrian Manarino, who has been playing some good tennis as of late, but really just likes conditions that are really quick. And I just don't think it's quick enough for him here, to be honest with you. I couldn't back Manarino, man. I really couldn't here. Korda, until he proves to us that he's not going to retire, I don't know how you could bet him to win a quarter in the or even the event. I would rather bet the next guy than Marin Cilic. Cilic's not bad, and with some really shaky people in his quarter, and I think this quarter is very open if Cilic can stay healthy, and I think he's got a pretty decent shot, especially because you have some Chinese players in this quarter, in Wu Yibing and Zhang. We're going to have a lot of home support. So if you can get through that, I think you got a good shot of, potentially going deep in this quarter. Now, to break this down a little bit more here, you also have Matteo Berrettini in this quarter. So it's going to be Matteo Berrettini versus the winner of Zhizheng Zhang and Bu Yukinchote. Apologies on that pronunciation as well. You would definitely think Bu wins that match. Zhizheng hasn't played a match in a while, and he's in no form to win this. And Bu, I believe, switched coaches recently and has been looking just very solid against some competition that you think he should beat. So I think he can win that. I think Bu could beat Matteo Berrettini. I don't know why you'd be going back in Berrettini at this point. I don't know. He's like Corda. He's been too injured to do anything. And then you go a bit down the quarter here, and you have so the winner of Alexander Vukic and David Goffin, which you would think, and it's a tough matchup. And if you're betting on David Goffin and Alexander Vukic, let me tell you something. I might pause the video here. Yeah, I am. Don't bet on a match like this. Why would you? Don't do this to yourself. There's better matches and there's better opportunities. I'm really excited to see who wins this match for sure. And I would think that David Goffin is by far the clear better hardcourt player. But it's just he's the underdog against a guy in Vukic who's had a terrible season. So to put any trust into Goffin, I guess now is the time to do it. But I would not touch this match by any means. If you do, you're a brave person, and I respect you for it, though. And they will play the winner of Bublik, who has a bye. And finally, to get into the fourth quarter, you have Manarino. You have facing off against Wu Yubing. Man, these Chinese names. And I'm sorry, my pronunciation. Go back and watch my previous video on the WTA tour, and I butchered like 90% of the names. And I know who these players are. It's just like I don't like my pronunciation. It's just so bad. Anyways, Wu Yibing opened up as the underdog in this matchup, and now he's a slight favorite going against Adrian Manarino. Another match I don't know why you'd really touch. Yibing hasn't really played a lot of tennis as of late, and he's now the favorite against Manarino, who's presumably been playing some of the best tennis in a while. To see that line movement is just very concerning. It's obviously a very liquid market. I don't know, like, there's probably not a ton of people betting into this market, this money line market. I don't blame them. So it's just one of those things in general. If you're really trying to bet tennis long term, I'd recommend not betting the qualifiers, not betting the first round even. Just waiting till the second round. It really gives you a better idea of who's showing up and who's like playing good ball. And it's a strategy we picked up recently, and it's been doing us wonders because you really don't know what to expect from a player in the first round or in qualifying. Now, if they have a history at this tournament of doing well and at this time of year, there's obviously opportunities that you don't want to leave at the door. For example, last night in Chengdu, we took Lloyd Harris over Zachary Cevada, who is the U.S. player. It was about pick 'em odds, and yeah, I mean Lloyd Harris, 7-2 here in his lifetime, and huge serve and high altitude. You'd think would favor him, as well as our model putting him at a 54% probability of winning. So we actually got him at plus, I think it was 110. So we had it was a great bet. And on the East Coast in the United States here, we woke up and we were very happy. But we did see that went to 3 sets. And actually, I think we in this final round of qualifying, Lloyd Harris is a minus 180 favorite. I'm trying to remember who to here, but to bet him at minus 180 now is completely different. I would not do that. So betting on prices equally is important as well. So Manarino, Yibing, Wu, I'm going to try to just avoid this one in general. We're going to go to Adam Walton, Sebastian Corda. Adam Walton beating Sebastian Corda would not surprise me. Adam Walton is a plus 140 underdog in this matchup, and I think his line has moved. I think it was plus 160, maybe even greater, and then it moved to plus 140 now. That's what I'm seeing. If Sebastian Corda is healthy, I think he would win this match. But Adam Walton's been having a great year as well. I haven't really done the numbers on this one too much. It's just not a matchup I'd really. Anybody's injured, like Corda, I really don't really pay too much mind to it, especially like I said in the first round. So Sebastian Corda, Adam Walton would play the winner of the Manarino match, and then you have Marin Cilic against the qualifier there, and the winner of that would play Daniil Medvedev, which another player who is trying to make changes, has made changes to his head coach. And I'd love to see Daniil Medvedev get back into form. It's just been so long, and I don't know how you could trust him, and I don't know how you could put him at, the number 2 seed here. I mean, I get it, but to think that he has a chance at winning this tournament, he would have to turn a lot of things around. And I'm crossing my fingers for him. I'm knocking on wood for him, but I just don't think it's his time here. So, all in all, yeah, I mean, essentially, these conditions, it's a bit slower than Chengdu, like I mentioned. Still quick due to the weather. So I'm just going to go into some people that I think can win the tournament and some people I would fade. Rublev is somebody I would try to back here. He's got a manageable draw. And, yeah, I think he's been playing a lot calmer in the past few weeks than he had in the months prior to that. I mean, I haven't seen an outburst in a while, it feels like, which is great to see. And it's maybe, this work that he's been doing off the court's been paying off. Next, you got Daniil Medvedev. You got to think his motivation is super high coming into this, but his form has been so poor. You really just can't prove. You can't trust him until he proves to you that he can make a change. And then, yeah, so I just wouldn't go about trusting him there. Bublik's our next guy, and with his injury concern, we're going to throw this out the door. He's been playing the best tennis of his career, but if he's injured, he's not going to play it seriously, at least. Especially, you've seen him do so well on these clay events on high altitude, and then he's playing Hangzhou, which is a lower altitude event. I'm just not really sure why. I don't think these courts suit him well. I don't think these hard courts would fit him anyways that well. I'm not backing Bublik here, at any means. Next is Mute, and like I said, he's a tricky guy. He's sneaky. I just don't know where his motivation's at, especially after a tough match on the Davis Cup. In the first event on the Asian swing here, I just don't know where his motivation's at. Like I said, his form's been solid, but I don't know how you would try to go back in him, which is like the next few guys we're going to be talking about here, and Berrettini. I just feel like this tournament's full of guys who are injured or just aren't quite motivated right now, and it's going to take us to see a few matches to see if these things are going to change. But with everything coming into this tournament with Berrettini questionable, his form's been very poor due to injuries, and I don't know how you would trust him. You got Kordas, same situation exactly. And until we see otherwise, it's just a donation if you're trying to back them. Wu Yibing has been injured as well. I think he's played just a few matches this season. He's a hometown guy, and the course is going to suit him amazingly because he's just so used to it. But to make a deep run, I'm not sure about that. Zhizheng Zhang, same thing. Home country favorite. Poor form due to injury. You got to think, the motivation's high, but just a bit questionable for me. Kind of running into some stats here. I like to look at some ELO ratings. You see that Medvedev comes in with the highest ELO rating, and Zhizheng Zhang comes in with the lowest, and then everyone else there is in between. There's nobody in specific that I'd go about backing in this tournament. We have no particular outrights that we're necessarily on. It's more of a tournament that we're gonna maybe bet a future later down the road once we have more information, once we see who's fit, and get some more ideas. So that's gonna be it for Hangzhou, and next we're gonna get into the 250 event in Chengdu. Inaugurated in 2016, it's obviously it's the first real tournament in the Asian swing alongside Hangzhou. And then after this, we have, like I said earlier, Beijing and Shanghai to look forward to as well. This is staged at the Sichuan International Tennis Center, and the venue boasts a 6,000 seat center court, 2 additional show courts accommodating 2,000 spectators each, and a total of 20 outdoor hard court and 12 indoor courts. So just like Hangzhou, it's very versatile as well. Chengdu is a very cultural town, and it's known for its giant panda uh, logos. So it's a neat tournament, and what's really neat about it is the altitude. It's a bit higher in altitude, 500 meters. We have it at. Um, so the damp weather that we do expect for this week might slow the conditions. But it is a tournament that we have as one of the faster hardcore tournaments on the tour. So it's going to favor players with big serves, consistency, and so yeah, just a consistent big serve, I'd say, as well as the other factors. But that is one of the main factors for me, at least. So we see Musetti as the clear favorite, entering as a plus 200 betting favorite, and then we have Brandon Nakashima as plus 600, Jordan Thompson plus 800, and then you have several seeds, including Cameron Norrie, Gael Monfils, and Juxing Chang, who's the previous year's winner. You have Coleman Wong in the draw as well. So we should see some mid-tier players make some big moves this tournament, I think, as well as in Hangzhou. These tournaments offer some opportunities for these quote-unquote challenger players to make maybe a run to the semifinals at least. So let's go to the quarters here, and I'm going to add draw right here. And we have Lorenzo Musetti in quarter one with Terrence Atman, Dino Prismic, and some other qualifiers as well. So Musetti has the first round bye. You have Atman and Dino Prismic. This is a really interesting matchup because obviously we've seen Terrence Atman make a very, very respectable run in Cincinnati. But he's up against a really tough opponent in Dino Prismic, and the lines obviously represent that, with Dino being the favorite here, as well as Atman is a very streaky player. So to see him do well at one tournament, yeah, it's great, but we need to see that consistency from him, I would say, to like solidify him to be a favorite, especially a better favorite against a really big up and comer in Dino Prismic. I mean, this guy is a real grinder, and yeah, it's some people are confused with these lines, and I think it makes sense, honestly. So maybe a potential letdown spot for Atman there. And then that would be a really interesting match with Dino Prismic and Lorenzo Musetti. Lorenzo Musetti should win that match. Botic van de Zanschop plays the qualifier there, and then they'll play, whoever wins that match, the winner of Sebastian Baez in that qualifier. So that quarter is pretty open, I'd say. Early rounds are favorable. Musetti's patience from the baseline is ideal, especially if we're going to be seeing these damper conditions, these slower conditions, on a very hard court, a very fast-paced hard court surface. So it'd be interesting. These aren't really conditions that you think would suit Musetti that much, but he made the final last year. So after making a respectable run at the U.S. Open, it makes perfect sense why you'd see him as the favorite here. Quarter two, we're going to get into Giovanni Pericard, Sebastian Baez, Botic van de Zonschop, like I said here. So we kind of covered that a bit. And excuse me, that was in the first quarter. Now we have the second quarter in Talon Griekspoor. With his first round bye, he's set up to play the winner between Coleman Wong and that qualifier. Coleman Wong, obviously, a lot of people have highlighted after a pretty successful year, beating some pretty big name competition. You have Alexander Shevchenko and Gael Monfils, which, at the end of the day, Gael Monfils is like my favorite tennis player. and it's just super sad to see his level of tennis. And I know he's can't be too happy. I think he's lost 7 matches in a row or something like that. And yeah, he's got a pretty tough first round matchup in Shevchenko, and it's one that I think Monfils should win. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as it may seem, but I would lean Monfils in this one for sure. You have Filip Misolic versus Pericard here, and this is one. Listen, I get it's in fast conditions. I get these conditions would suit Pericard, and Misolic is a clay courter. He hasn't won, I don't think, a ton of ATP matches. I've seen him play some pretty good tennis, though, this year, and I would not be surprised if this one's a bit closer than people think, especially with the level that we've seen Pericard play this past season. He's really, I think, truly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's having the epitome of what we call a sophomore slump. After coming off super strong last year, we're now seeing him just kind of like have no idea what he's doing on his return game, right? I mean, like, this guy can serve like no other, but I mean, if you can't do anything else, it's got people can work through it, especially people who are good returners that can get through that big first serve and then work their way into a baseline rally and then get it done in that way. I would not be surprised if Misolic kept this super close. Maybe even won a set off him. So I think this quarter is just as open as the first, with Musetti obviously in that first quarter being that clear winner. If I had to go for anyone here, any long shot, I'd probably go Misolic. If he can get through that first round, I think he can get through the next round. And yeah, no, I mean, in my eyes, like I'm not betting this, but I just don't think there's anybody I'd take beyond him. And for the most part here, let's move on to the third. And apologies again about that. So we come into the third quarter. We have Brandon Nakashima. We have Lorenzo Musetti are the big names. Juan Manuel Cerundolo just won a challenger title this past week. Looked really good. I mean, the level of competition maybe wasn't amazing, but he's just not known as a hardcore guy. So to see him do that is really impressive, honestly. And I mean, he's got a really tough first round matchup in Sonego, but Sonego's really never done too much on the Asian swing here. So, yeah, I mean, should be closer maybe than what people think, but I mean, Sonego at the end of the day, he's got a big serve, and that might be able to get it done here. So, and it's just a huge step up in competition than the people Cerundolo was playing in that challenger last week. So, yeah, I mean, Sonego is probably the lean there. And then let's move on to the next one, and Marcos Giron and Ethan Quinn. And this one's super, super interesting. We had Giron open up at a minus 150 favorite, and last time I checked, it's about a pick 'em now. Ethan Quinn. Our model had Ethan Quinn about 45% chance of winning. So the line has moved towards that, and because it was originally I think plus 130, plus 140 maybe. I think actually it opened up at plus 150 even, and then it moved down to about plus 120, and then yeah, now we're sitting at even odds. Marcus Giron's kind of like Sonego, hasn't really done well on the Asian swing, and you look at Marcus Giron and the tournaments he's done well at, and it's really just not a whole lot of tournaments in higher altitude. It's more of these tournaments in lower altitude, like what are those, Miami, and whether it be in Indian Wells. So yeah, I agree with the line movement here. I would not be surprised if he had an early exit here against the young American in Quinn. Next, we have Zizou Bergs and Junxing Cheng. So Junxing Cheng, as we know, was the previous year's winner against now a Bergs. a version of Bergs that I think a lot of people are uncertain about, and they don't know what to expect. Um, and that's reflected in the lines. Zizou Berg was a clear favorite, and then the lines have adjusted, and now he's the clear betting underdog at about plus 110. If Junqing Chang is healthy and motivated, which he clearly is for this tournament, with a lot of points to defend, I would expect him to have rested and prepared to get through this first round against Zizou. And if he's going to get injured, I can't see it being this early in a tournament that means so much to him here. So if he has that, yeah, I think he gets through. And I think the lines being adjusted are correct. It could be closer than what people think, but Junqing Chang should be the winner there. It ultimately has to face Brandon Nakashima, who we think could potentially win this tournament if, this gets past this, for sure. I think Brandon Nakashima has a good shot. Because he'll have Junqing Chang, Zizou Bergs. I think he can do that, especially in his first round. He's been losing to some really, really tough competition as of late. And I think he's due for a deep run in a tournament full of players that I think he has an edge against. So Brandon Nakashima, and then he has either I think Sonego or Quinn Marcos Giron. Very manageable for him there. And then we get down to Q4. Cameron Norrie, Yi Zhao. That matchup, you would think Cameron Norrie would win, despite Zhao's solid run here last year. Quentin Hollis and Christopher O'Connell. I mean, O'Connell retired, I think, in his last match, and then you had Hollis with a big serve and high altitude. I mean, I don't want to really overthink that one too much. I think Quentin Hollis would get it done there. Jordan Thompson versus the qualifier, and then you have Darderi has a bye. Darderi, listen, he is not a hard court player. He is a clay court guy, and despite the form he's in, to be a number 2 seed is I just can't back him here. So, unfortunately, yeah, I think Q4 is kind of left open. I would lean Thompson for sure. I think Thompson will get through Darderi. I think Thompson could be Quentin Hollis, and then he would face off against Nakashima in that bottom half. So, and that would be a great matchup. I just think that with Thompson's injury concerns that far down the road, I just couldn't trust him and would definitely lean Brandon Nakashima. And then you would be leaving us into a final match between what I believe will be Brandon Nakashima and Lorenzo Musetti. I know it's crazy, and I think Musetti gets it done, to be honest. If Musetti gets out early, I think Nakashima gets it done then. It's all just what happens. I'm not betting this beforehand, but I do think that this will be a really fun tournament and a great start to the Asian swing here before the end of the season. So I would like to get into next just the conclusion, and I do have a bet that I'm going to give out. So stay tuned. All right, so we just wanted to wrap up these 2 tournaments going on, so Chengdu and Hangzhou. So obviously these are the first 2 tournaments on the Asian swing, and next we have Tokyo. Then after that we have Beijing, which are 2 500 level events. These happen during the same week, so we're 250s to 500s, and then in the beginning of October, the first week and a half or so, we have Shanghai, which is that Masters 1000 event, and should be a great way to wrap up that last 1000 event of the year. And then we have some indoor events as well. So excuse me, and then we have Paris as well at the end of the year. Excuse me, but yeah, no, I'm very excited for the end of the year, and this is typically the time of year we can try to make the most profits. So, the bet we're gonna go with today is between Matteo Arnaldi and Arthur Cazot, and we really do like the over in this match to start off with. That's not the one we're gonna give out because we really try to focus on just money lines, and we try to focus on primarily if we're gonna do a game spread, we would try to really just do underdog game spreads. So that's kind of like our niche in the tennis betting world. Anyways, we talked about this earlier. Arnaldi was opened up around minus 140, went down to minus 110, and we kind of are seeing it move back up. I think some books have him back at minus 130. Our model got him at 65% went in on hard courts. So obviously super concerning to say the least to see these at pick-em odds. I would like to explain why we think they're at pick-em odds though, and give you guys an explanation of what we think is going to happen here. So Cazot comes in pretty decent form. The past few tournaments, making it out of the first round and making it through to pretty deep, not super deep, but not really playing any competition. I would say it's really impressive. Stats on the hard courts really lean either player as far as their serving stats. So, in a tournament on hard courts, yeah, I mean it's one of those. It really is. You could say a toss up, especially considering here that Arnaldi has lost his past 4 matches. He's got to do something to turn this one around. What I think is going to happen is Cazot's going to come out start, potentially take the first set, and then you're going to see Arnaldi take over. And then I would say if he does win that second set in Arnaldi, he would be the betting favorite going into that third set, and I think he would be able to get it done there. So we were kind of contemplating putting this one out, but we told ourselves, hey, if we saw some movement back towards Arnaldi from the pick-em odds that we would take it, and I'm not gonna bet it pre. I do think there's gonna be a better price for Arnaldi, so I would wait potentially for a better number, and then I would back him at a momentum shift. If you think there's a clear momentum shift, I think there will be in this match. Cazot's one of those players. He can start off super hot and then just lose his level. So I've never been a huge Cazot fan, and I think Arnaldi is just a bit better here. So the last time he went on a 4-match losing streak earlier this season, Arnaldi was in the clay season. Then he ended up making a really deep run at the 1000 event in Madrid, which is a high altitude event, where he actually lost to the winner in Draper. So I think he knows, and I think he can turn this losing streak around like he did earlier this season. And he is my bet to win this. Now, how you bet it is on you. You can bet it at minus 110 because there's still clear value according to our model. But I just think you're going to be able to get a better price, like I said. So good luck to you. And we're going to be back for the quarterfinals here shortly. I think it's going to be maybe rain a day here or so. So just keep an eye out for that if we are delayed. But and then we have the WTA podcast in Seoul as well. So keep an eye out for that. So until next time, Holden signing off. Talk to you soon. Peace.